Hello and welcome, Maria Jordan. How are you, Maria? Are you well?
I'm really good, thanks. How are you? It's been a
Yeah, all
while.
good. And as we were just saying, are you in St. Helens now?
Yes, yeah,
You're
I
in your
moved up
studio by the looks of things.
Windle. Like I used to say, Worsley Swinton. We're Windle, St. Helens.
How has life been? Has it been okay?
Yeah, just mega busy, mega busy. I feel like the last time we saw each other was about 10 years ago, wasn't
Yeah, it
it?
was about 10 years ago easily. And certainly as we were saying, as we were saying before, about the that journey that you've been on for the last well, more, isn't it? It's more than 10
Yeah,
years.
yeah,
It's so incredible to see everything that's going off and taking off for you now with the show, obviously One Night in Nashville. So we should talk about all of those things, and we should get into how you did that and how
yeah.
it's working out for you and all that stuff. But just to sort of kick us off by saying about where did it start for you in music? How did you get into music, and where did it all begin?
Yeah, I think at 15 years old, I had a bit of a troubled childhood and I picked up a guitar and I just felt like it was therapy for me and it felt like home. And the minute I started singing along to that guitar, ideas of songs started coming out of my mouth. And it gave me an escapism from a really turbulent home life.
Right.
And so for many, many years, I fell in love with music. I would say as a child, though, I had this really out of body experience when I was about 5, and I think it was something as simple as I got up and sang karaoke in Butlins. But when you come out of your body, and the memory of that is like that scene out of Whitney Houston, where she's on a stage, that is like imprinted in my mind. So I think it was as early as sort of 5, from
Wow.
when I picked up a guitar is and my mum showed me like 3 chords on the guitar. I literally was unstoppable from that moment on, and I was writing and writing and writing. It was like a therapy, and I just loved it. I loved
Yeah.
it so much, and I desperately wanted a record deal from that moment on.
Right, right, right. And so, did it immediately I mean, all this stuff, and I know it hasn't happened overnight. It's
No,
something that has been a huge amount of graft.
yeah.
Can you tell us where it kind of, you obviously went to school, you did all that stuff and everything. Did you do a uni course? Did you do any of those things?
Yeah, so I kind of stayed on at A levels to do art, and because my home life was really turbulent, I just quit and I wanted to do music. So I started a BTEC National Diploma in Manchester, did a year of that. I absolutely loved every day of it. You know what it's like when you're just around musicians every day, you're playing
Yeah.
music, you're getting experience in a studio. All of that was just magical for me. And I just remember that being like such an amazing time of my life. And then I got so frustrated with how slow and lack the teachers were. I quit that as well. I just went through a phase of quitting things because I just kind of thought, I just want to get out there. I'll start booking my own shows and just getting out there as an artist and pursuing a record deal. And so I booked shows at like Band on the Wall and, when back in the days when there
Yeah,
were opportunities for unsigned artists on
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wednesday night and stuff like that, and Night and Day Cafe. At 15, I would go and play their open mic on a Monday, just singing and talking about my songs. So it really started there. One thing I regret about that, though, I know you went to Lipper, and a lot of people did, was
Mm.
you come away from that with a solid network, don't you? And for me, that whole process of not having a network for years and years, I kind of regret that, not
Right, right, right.
or going
Interesting.
somewhere like
You know
Lipper.
what though? I would say, yeah, it's in my case, the people in my year group in my cohort were most people were really serious. They were really good,
Yeah.
and most of them, fortunately for me, a lot of them are now in the music business, are doing things at the real high levels of the music, where they're CEOs of industry now and things like that, and it's amazing to see. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that that's the case for a lot of people. There's a lot of people where they have exactly your experience and they go to uni and they're just in a bunch in a year group where no one's doing anything and no one cares, and so
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a mixed bag, isn't it? But I think it's just that fear of missing out kind of thing, isn't it? Or
Yeah,
you feel like the grass was greener. So, when you see like in my early 20s, I struggled and struggled. And I think a lot of people with those networks, they moved to London, you know, they got those connections early on.
Got straight in. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so for me, even though, I mean, my journey is maybe different, so maybe that might inspire people that even though I didn't go to places like that to study, you still can get somewhere with
Oh,
it.
100%, 100%. So after the studying period,
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about that nightlife and the pubs, the clubs, the weddings and all that stuff, because obviously I've done gigs with you and
Yeah,
things,
yeah.
you know what that's like. And so let's talk about that a bit, and what's involved in that a bit and how it's helped.
Yeah, so I always essentially from after the studying period, I got a full-time job, obviously to pay my bills. I had to move out of home and things like that, probably earlier than I should have had to. So I had to kind of grow up quite soon, really, so or quite quickly. So I always had a full-time job. I met Dave at Band on the Wall, and we sort of pursued this together. He's the drummer, by the way, and my husband now, and we've always pursued this same dream together, you know, since sort of our early 20s. We didn't have a pot to piss in, shall we say? But, so we started doing covers gigs at the weekend. You know, he convinced me. I was like, no, I'm a staunch original artist. Then he convinced me, no, there's good money in it, and we can afford to then start paying for albums and
Yeah.
demos and stuff like that. So he really got me into that. And I would start out by doing pub gigs, just singing to backing tracks. And for me, like it was terrifying because I think singing in front of thousands of people is so much easier than walking into a pub, the
It
pub, them stopping, pumping the pumps,
it
looking at
really is.
it literally is like
What do
that.
you mean?
And then going like, who are you, you know?
I know, I know.
And I'd be like, I used to be terrified of that. Like my social anxiety with just talking to people was horrendous. And then, you know, you'd have to sort of shuffle around your PA and
I know.
move someone
Hide
who's
in the
drinking a
corner.
pint out of the corner and say, sorry, I just need to set my PA up and start blasting out in front of them a load of noise. So yeah, I think that really teaches you a lot. And also a huge thing for me was, you know, getting paid at gigs. I really had to find the guts because I was really shy. Like I say, I was really scared of talking to people and asking for what I want, especially in my early 20s. So to say like at the end of the night, "Oh, we got my money." Really terrified, but it actually really taught me like you've got to do that. It taught me
Got
from a
hustle.
really young
Yeah.
age. Yeah. I'd go and count the money in the toilets, and then people, you know, you'd have situations where they didn't pay you while you was at a wedding, and the drunk father of the bride said, "I've already paid you," and all of that. So
I actually remember that happening when we were doing a gig. I remember that happening, and we were like, "No, you haven't paid anyone, mate."
yeah,
So
yeah.
drunk. Yeah, I
Well,
remember. Yeah.
all those tough lessons really teach you about contracts, about insisting on payment up front and things like that. And so every tough situation is a lesson, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. That's great advice. Yeah, and that all that hustle stuff is
Yeah,
stuff that most people forget about even exist.
yeah.
It doesn't even exist, does it? Your very
Yeah.
first priority is just to learn the songs.
Absolutely. And I think for creatives, it's even harder, isn't it, to switch from that to business brain. And you've literally got to have both in this industry. And you've got to be savvy, you've got to be ballsy, you've got to sort of stand up for yourself and no contracts inside out. And we still work with musicians who, you know, that's a struggle for. But luckily, you know, we're the people that we're like the bulldogs who get that sorted.
Yeah. And
But
and in your favor as well, you're nice people, you're level-headed, nice people that have been there and done it and appreciate what goes into it and everything that's happening around it. So yeah.
yeah, but then I think from sort of the pubs, I started doing Shania Twain tribute.
Mhm. Yeah.
Shania Twain, essentially, it's like when you do tributes, it's obviously like five times the money of a pub gig kind of thing. So then I was like, I could earn enough money to do an album rather than just three songs. So we started working with a producer called John Kettle in Wigan, and you know we'd been in and out of studios, including Parr Street in Liverpool, and you know, where you just sort of get a sound and it sounds like a live band in a rehearsal studio
Yeah.
rather than a produced sound. And there's a huge difference, isn't there? So
Yeah,
when
of
we
course.
found
Yeah.
Kettle, you know, he's a multi-instrumentalist, Dave's drummer, I play guitar as well as sing, and he kind of was able to get that fully rounded produced sound for us. So that was kind of a first. So the Shania Twain money enabled us to record that first album, Landslide.
Right, interesting, interesting.
Yeah.
And did you carry on the Shania stuff, or did that kind of phase that? Did you want to phase that out, or was that something that you wanted to carry on, or?
I mean, I absolutely loved it, and it kind of
Yeah.
leans into what I'm doing now. The production and everything of the early Shania Twain, it was Mutt Lang, wasn't it? And it was all amazing. I used to do it solo. We tried it as a full live band, but there just wasn't the demand back then. And I kind of just needed it as a vehicle to record my own music. So I did a mixture of pub gigs and the Shania stuff, and then obviously we started off the back of that, we started Hard Candy Events, which was weddings, a wedding band, corporate entertainment, that sort of thing. And
Mm,
like, like you realize you have to spin many plates in order to just make a living as
that's
a
it.
musician. We had an 80s band, a DJ live band, an acoustic duo.
Yeah.
Dave started learning how to DJ.
I mean, I remember Dave, like packing up his drums and then getting his techs out,
Yeah. It's insane, isn't it? But this is literally the reality of it. It's not
Yeah.
some polished, slick, oh, somebody hands you something and suddenly it all, runs off in a successful manner. It's like
Yeah.
literally, and I used to get told by agents as well, oh, brides don't like female singers, so you're gonna struggle. And I had all of that. Honestly,
Really?
yeah, big
Really?
agents as well, yeah.
Why? Why would that be an issue?
I've no idea. I've no idea. It's mad, isn't it? Because I think
Yeah.
because I love that sort of indie rock band that was quite popular back then. And
Mm,
funnily enough, when we started doing like dance music and the DJ sax stuff, which sort of naturally evolved in that world, um, people were not bothered about you being a female. So
yeah.
it's just perception, I think, sometimes, or a certain clientele. I don't know, but I
Yeah,
was
that's it.
told that, and essentially, it's probably why I had to do an 80s band, a 90s band, a dance band. So, but in that respect, as I say, the lesson I learned about that is I am versatile as a singer and I can
Yeah.
sing all those things. So,
Yeah. And and you can play the guitar and you understand music and it's, would you say that that's an integral part for any musician? Do you think, obviously we've talked about the having that hustle, having that
yeah.
ability to hustle, that's sort of clearly vital. Do you think it's vital as well for musicians to try to pick up many instruments and do different things then as well?
Yeah, I think learning from what looks to be your failures is where there's an amazing lesson. So if like like I say, I was really shy at just going in and talking to people, networking, all of that. But in the end, that made me work harder at having to sort of fill in those gaps myself. So
Mm,
I think the more you can learn, but in a way that you enjoy, like if you want to pick up a banjo, pick up a banjo. If you like the tones and certain of certain instruments, pick it up and pursue it, but
yeah,
for the love of it mostly. But you do have to hustle and you have to have like an unbelievable, relentless drive in this industry, don't you? Because
completely.
you could
Yeah.
just go, oh no, it's too scary, it's too much this, and just dip
Yeah.
out of it.
And not just the emotional roller coaster of it, but the financial one as well. I mean, the outlay of I remember, I mean, I'll never forget that gig that we did where it was in this quiet country little church and Dave brought out his Death Star bass bins and the church windows were rattling.
We were just laughing about that the other day because the cajon, the famous cajon, drummers hate playing cajons. It's there, it's got a bloody printer on it. It never gets used. And we were telling the band the other day that he hates playing cajons so much. We did loads of wedding gigs where it was like, oh, it's 80 decibel noise limit to 90, and the drummer can't play a full kit. So what he did was he brought every part of his drum kit apart from the kick drum, and he used the cajon, didn't he, as a kick? It was essentially a full kit anyway. Straight up refused.
Brilliant. I love that. I love that.
Yeah, it's funny. And
Um,
now it's a printer stand.
and now it's just a prince that has been relegated. On the subject of, the sort of the struggle of the financial, paying for gear, paying for
Yeah,
everything, paying for your life, paying for your holidays, your house, your this and everything,
yeah,
and also building, all that struggle is obviously palpable. But would you, I know that we've had talks about certain things with managers,
yeah,
labels,
yeah,
agents, how slippery and how like
yeah.
strange and unpredictable that can be. Can you talk a little bit about that? for us as
Yeah,
well.
so I would say I always worked. I always had a full-time job and then gigged at the weekends. So I was always used to working 6, 7 days a week, even now, to the point. And up until I was 27, and then I had enough gigs doing multiple things to be able to sort of quit and just do music. But then Dave was able to sort of support us with a building business and things like that. So at that point, I think when I was about 27, that's when I got an amazing opportunity. I worked in a radio station, Key 103, it was at the time, just on reception, part-time.
Hmm.
The opportunity came up and I thought, wow, this is a good in to see
I'm
how
in. Yeah,
those things work, because before that we'd released radio music to radio, released singles and got playlisted on commercial radio and all sorts. But then having the insights into how commercial radio worked was amazing. Listening to pop songs over and over, you know how much they
of
repeat
course.
those songs, even though
Yeah,
they say they don't. But when
yeah.
you work there, you hear it over and over. But even just being absorbing pop music and how that's written, like for that whole time you're there, that was all lessons as well. And then an opportunity came up to work with a manager, showed some interest. He managed Muse at the time. And I thought, right, this is it. We've had, so far we've released singles. We've been down to see Warner Brothers to be told it's work in progress, and everything was just rejection, rejection, rejection for years and years, from like 15 to sort of 27. Then this came along and I was like, this is it. We're gonna make it. We're gonna make it.
Yeah, yeah.
Finally. You're always in hope of this record deal and working towards it. And in my lunch hour on my full-time job, I'd be phoning record labels. I had the Music Week directory, and I'd be phoning record labels and publishers and managers and getting
Just trying to
rejected.
get in there. Yeah, just trying to graft and yeah.
Yeah, hustling, like even on my breaks all the time, and none of it ever felt like it came to anything. We'd take a minibus down of our friends and people to London to do a showcase for Warner, and again that came to nothing. You was work in progress. It was all just rejection. And then so when this opportunity came up to work with the guy that managed Muse, we were like, this is it. We've got something really great. I had album Landslide at that time, and I thought, I've got something really good here. They'll see something in it. So he kind of put us in the studio with somebody. It was a little bit more indie sounding and left field, but we were trying to capture that Nashville sound
Right.
with, analog instruments and real nice tones and things like that. And I think what he got at the end of it, he wasn't happy with. It sounded very raw and very real, and he took it to the labels. They said no, and that was it. He dropped us, and that whole process, absolutely, it was an amazing experience, but it sent me into a real deep, dark
I
depression
can
because,
imagine. Yeah, yeah. That's so hard, isn't it? Because you find,
yeah,
especially when you finally think, my God, the manager of Muse likes me and wants to
yeah,
work with me and so on. And then kind of, I mean, it sounds like it doesn't really give you the opportunity to really reach your full potential with whatever, the
oh,
right amount of time, say, or the right amount
yeah,
of cash needed or whatever. So
yeah.
because of that, it's sort of failed to meet certain targets that he obviously had in his mind. And then, yeah, God, that must have been really tough time for you. Yeah.
It was, and I think for me, emotionally, on an emotional front, from 15 and going through a really tough childhood, putting all that pain into that many years of struggle, so that's like over 10 years, it felt like this was my only hope to not feel those awful feelings as well. So, for something to be taken away from me so harshly, it really, really was tough. It was
Yeah.
so I almost didn't want to do music anymore.
Yeah,
I
I
was
can imagine.
antidepressants, all sorts, and I just kind of stopped doing it for a few years because I was like, I don't get what else I can possibly try and do to succeed
Right.
in the
Right.
industry. And then I also saw how ugly the industry is, on that side. It really is. And I
Yeah.
just thought, never again am I going to put my career in someone else's hands? Never again. And that again is a massive lesson, isn't it?
100%. Yeah. I mean, that's something that I often find myself telling artists is that they not all, but a lot of them come to me with these ideas that they say, like, what do you think of the single?
Oh,
What do you think of this? And why does it? And I'm always trying to go, it's irrelevant what I think. It completely doesn't matter. You've got to get into that mindset of what do you think should be
yeah.
next and which way do you want to go? And how do yeah, it's
Yeah.
so tough.
And even now, don't you think it's really cruel on artists as well, the way that it's all about content and 15 seconds and
That's
like
it.
it's tough. It's so
Yeah,
tough. And how much money can you throw at these things? Like
I know.
we got to a certain point where we're like, I think we'd have paid our mortgage off years ago had we not been recording albums, took ourselves on tour to America independently, all funded ourselves, radio single, you know what radio
Yeah.
pluggers cost a fortune, don't they,
Oh,
independently?
completely. It's 1,000 quid a track, if not more. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The recording cost plus the artwork plus it just goes on and on,
I
doesn't it?
know, I know, I know.
Um,
That's why I guess, that it is not just learning the guitar, being a good singer. It is not just the ability to talk to people and hustle, but it is that like you've got to find out, you've got to have some kind of viable backing of some, whether it's a job or
yeah,
like you did with the create a series of shows that you can go and get some money for or whatever, and just like make it happen so that you can support yourself. Because yeah, like you say,
yeah.
there's no guarantees, even if it worked first time, it still costs you thousands. Still does. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, my dad was an immigrant from Turkey as well, so and I saw him work 13-hour shifts. He was a single parent to two daughters, and I saw him hustle and work and work. So I've seen his sort of work ethic, and I've seen how he managed with little money, and I think that rubbed off quite a lot with me
Right, right.
with how to sort of invest in a house early on. I had no choice but to move out of my childhood home and things like
Mm,
that. But with regards to sort of looking after yourself financially, I would always say buy a house, because my dad drilled it into me, and I bought my first house at 23. As I say, we didn't have a pot to piss in. We had a
yeah,
120% mortgage, but working full time and gigging at the weekends allowed us to also do that. And that has been a bit of a bedrock financially for us.
yeah.
A lot of musicians go, oh, we'll just rent, we'll just do music full time. Da, 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 da. Actually, the most sensible thing, if that isn't paying enough, is to also build yourself a solid foundation.
Completely, because it's so dangerous, isn't it? Otherwise, you just don't know. It's like
So,
you could be
yeah.
just renting and whatever for ages, couldn't you? Like forever.
And your opportunities can be taken away as quickly as they come as well. And I think it's
Mhm.
such a valuable lesson. But
Definitely, definitely.
from the back of that, from the back of that rejection, after a few sort of years of being wounded and desperately sad about it, I thought, forget you, man. I'm not going to let you tell me what to do or whether something's good. I feel like my music fits into more of an Americana country genre. I want to
Right.
take myself on tour. So we were like, right, dust yourself off again for
Again.
the millionth time, get back out and take yourself on tour. So we funded a tour of America, like the East Coast, and then eventually took ourselves to Nashville. We went to South by Southwest and Nashville, and there was some funding available via UK Trade and Investment. I think
Yeah.
they put about £500 towards your flight. So we were like, let's do it. Let's go to South by Southwest, see if we can meet some people and experience it. And then we're like, why don't we just stop over at Nashville whilst we're there as well? So we did that. We loved Austin, Texas, and I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, move out here quite easily.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
tour was great. It was a great experience, but also a massive lesson in you must market these things, because some of the venues packed out naturally, and then we turned up in Boston to an empty room. In fact, the only people in the audience was the other band that were on. So
Right. Right.
valuable lessons in it all needs marketing or
Yeah.
what so that teaches you a lot about marketing and branding and things like that as well. um so when we was in Texas, we then popped over to Nashville, and literally we had one night in Nashville, and that's where this came from. uh,
Right.
yeah, so I arranged for like a songwriting collaboration session with somebody out there, and then we had one night out in Nashville, and we were like, whoa, whoa, this is amazing.
Yeah.
It was the Honky Tonks, the Country Music Hall of Fame, and
Yeah. I mean,
it's amazing. You've been, haven't you,
yeah, I've
yourself?
been a few times. Yeah, it's just there's a different energy there, isn't there? There's just a different vibe there. It's like and when you're walking round, what I couldn't believe about the place is that, I got dropped off at the Sheraton Hotel,
Yeah,
not far from the airport, and I remember. the cab driver just telling me, oh yeah, you know, play guitar. Oh, I play guitar too. And then when he got out, he got his guitar out the boot and showed me stuff. And straight away, I was thinking, this guy's fucking better than I am.
I know,
The
they're
cab
all
driver.
amazing, aren't they? The person serving you coffee.
Yeah, yeah. Everyone is incredible. You're
Everyone.
just like, what? I know, unbelievable.
It really is. It's so different, isn't it, to the UK sort of music scene? Because we kind of come out of bedroom creating music, don't we, over here? And everything over there just feels so much more polished. And the way they approach songwriting as a 9 to 5, they'll go into these songwriting houses
Yeah,
and write 9 to 5. I don't know how much of that I would be able to sustain without
sustain. Yeah,
losing with it, because every day it's just it's a bit hardcore, isn't it, for creativity? Once you turn that creative tap on, it's like,
yeah. You have to at least. I would have thought you have to. You know, you have to be inspired, don't you? I certainly do. I have to feel it. I'm like I'm in the moment to be able to go like, right, I'm really inspired to do this. I
yeah,
suppose I can't. You know, when it really comes down to it, if it is like you're being paid for a session,
yeah,
there's always that, you know, you can turn something on, can't you, where you say, right, I know how to make a song, it can do this. These are
yeah.
sort of lyrics that I, you know, are a million around there. But yes, to make your really best, you know, some really good work, it doesn't, as Rick Rubin says, there's kind of no time limit on it, is it? It's just when it's ready, and when it comes, and you know, it's more of that, isn't it? So
Yeah,
so talk to me about the you know, you had this idea one
yeah.
night in Nashville. How did it go from there? Because you were surely you were still doing all the stuff with agents and messing around with the, you know, trying to hustle and the
Yeah.
pub gigs and all that kind of stuff. So how did you start to form the show and get it to, you know, kind of where it is now? You know, how did you start piecing that together?
So when we was out there, we obviously went to the Honky Tonks, which is, for those who've not been there before, it's like literally bar after bar on Broadway, 3 or 4 floors, and there's bands playing 24/7. And some of these bands have played with, like, they'll go off on tour with Faith Hill, and then they'll come and do the stints or people just on the way up,
Yeah,
kind of thing. And then we also experienced the songwriter round. So there was a place called the Listening Rooms, which
yeah,
was just
yeah,
on the outskirts, and famous songwriters come onto this songwriting round. There's about 3 or 4 of them. They sit with their acoustic guitar, talk about the songs. So we experienced that element of it as well. And funnily enough, from our American tour years before in Boston, there was a photographer who photographed us in Boston who now lived in Nashville. She took us to this dive bar where what's she called? Steve Aerosmith. What's his name?
Steve Tyler.
Tyler, yeah, Liv Tyler's mum was singing with a load of other.
No
So it was
way.
just this mad experience. So we kind of experienced all of that, and Dave was like, "Why don't we bring that back to the UK?" Because and not many people know, but we've obviously been on holiday to America and Canada, and the way that they do it out there is they'll play covers and they'll play original music as well. It's not done like that in the UK
No.
anywhere, or it wasn't. You're either a tribute or a covers artist, or you're an original artist.
Yeah.
And
And no, never shall they meet. Yeah, 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 yeah.
even on Broadway, the artists playing covers in those honky tonks, are handing out CDs of their own music as well. So I was inspired by that element of it, and I thought, I don't care how snobby the UK music industry is, because it is around
Oh yeah,
this
of
subject of you either one
course.
or don't care, I'm just going to do it my way. So I brought that back to the UK and was like, we want to authentically represent how things are done in Nashville, and also mix in, my music is country music. I was trying for years to convince record labels that country music was not only big, not only amazing, but it was going to be big one day. And you know what it's like, they weren't having any of it. So I just thought, this is the only way that I feel I can authentically give a home to my music, entertain people with covers, introduce them to other original artists in the country genre, by a songwriter round, and invite media along to sort of showcase them.
Yeah,
So that's what we did in one bubble. So we started out in like Night and Day Cafe. We moved to Night People, and we sort of, so the day essentially would be, I'd open with a songwriter round, I'd host the songwriter round, we'd have 2 or 3 other artists on, We invited media and press down to sort of showcase them and capture them. And then we'd have sort of One Night in Nashville main show after that. And then David do Redneck Disco.
That's brilliant.
And engineering as well. So he'd sound engineer and he'd do Redneck Disco afterwards. So that was our little thing. That was our little niche and our little bubble. And I didn't care about record labels or what they
Or
had to
any of
say
it.
about the music anymore. I was just doing it my way. And I thought this is the only way I can get in front of a captive audience who might like my music. And so it started like that. And then eventually we started moving into Liverpool. Camp and Furnace.
I think you did some shows in Camp Furnace in Liverpool, I remember.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And then, they said we want to do it every month, and I was like, no, it's going to kill it. Like, once or twice a year is enough. And then they did it, and then the numbers started dwindling. But then we did like a really big show there. We filmed it. We had a songwriter around as well before the show. We filmed it with Fat Pigeon Live. And then things just started getting bigger and bigger. We then moved out to Birmingham and Yorkshire, Sheffield, Nottingham. And then I started sort of booking independently. Just I was booking everything independently myself at this stage anyway, like contacting the venues, researching and finding the venues.
Saying, we've just sold this out, we've just done this, will you have
Our
it? And
little
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I will say, like back in the early days, it cost me a fortune in marketing. I didn't make a penny.
Mm,
We just and we were there was so many times we were like, should we just quit this because it's not worth the headache? Musicians would come and go. We always paid our musicians, first and foremost, we would always pay them. But again, it was just becoming a project of it was costing a lot of money to pursue kind of thing, just like the music industry
yeah,
does
yeah,
anyway. And we didn't make, in fact, we've only just started paying ourselves. This is 10 years later, because it's constantly needed that investment. So I started looking into Edinburgh, Glasgow, further afield, and looking into venues like where tribute shows might play and seeing if it's something that they might be interested in.
oh,
Oh,
that circuit, yeah, yeah,
yeah, that would mean upfront in the cost of the venue, upfront in the cost of the marketing. I do all my own marketing with Facebook ads and things like that. So I learned all of that myself. I just had to learn it or I couldn't afford to do it essentially.
yeah,
So I started doing that and then it got bigger and bigger. And then as you scale up these businesses, you kind of just need any profit from that to fund the next level up. And
yeah,
so that's why we've only just started taking some money out of it because it's it's now sort of at a national level, and the last few years is where we've really seen, shows selling out everywhere. And I mean, they were in the small days of like your Manchester, Liverpool, Birmingham, but then when you sort of upscaling, you're like, I need it to sell out. I need it to sell
I
out to
need,
be
yeah,
the next
to
one,
pay for the next stuff. Yeah, yeah. It's amazing to see what you've done with it, though. I mean, I've been following the progress of it, and like it just seems to have over the last, I don't know, say certainly the last 5 years,
Yeah,
that it's
yeah,
just gone from strength to strength to strength. And like now, I mean, like all the as you said, I'm presuming that you're doing all the social media and things for
yeah, I do.
Instagram. I mean, it looks fantastic. All of the footage that you've got for it is like really pro footage. It's like packed audiences.
Yeah.
It's great. It's so good. So like and mate, well done to you for doing all that, and congratulations to you guys because it's a testament that the hard work pays off, doesn't it? It really does.
I don't take no for an answer. I think it's a relentless in the pursuit, and I think you've got to be, haven't you? Because I think a lot of people would have gone, no, this isn't for me at so many of those stages. And it's just a demonstration of hold on, hold in, stay in the game. It
Hmm.
something will shift at some point. Like so I would say the last sort of 3 years is where we've seen, the national tours. So we moved from sort of a few up to the Midlands kind of thing, fully national and selling out everywhere. And as I say, each time it felt really scary as a financial leap to put all of your money into, you're talking like thousands of pounds on venues, thousands of pounds on ads.
Of course.
You've contracted musicians, so all that has to be paid before you can even, and you're
Or
thinking,
even set on stage.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly. So that was terrifying for me as someone who's come from a very careful background financially to take those risks. I'm not, I wasn't born into an entrepreneurial house. I was born into a household where my dad was an immigrant and single father kind of thing, having to feed two kids. So that's ingrained in you, to be careful with every penny. But it's also been really good for my business model because I've had to learn things myself rather than having the
And it
money
means
to.
you're frugal, and it means that you're not
Yeah,
splashing cash when you don't need to, and it means that you are concentrating on like, well, how is this paying off the mortgage, and how is this paying the gas bill, and how do we, keep everyone happy in the band by paying them, and how do we, all of that stuff is, vital for not just you guys, but for
yeah,
any touring artist that's, I mean, there's so much stuff at the moment in
yeah,
2025
yeah,
about touring being really a difficult business and the viability of touring, especially internationally with the likes of Brexit and now Trump's tariffs and then all these things that are happening politically and economically. So, having that mindset, spend wisely is so
yeah.
important, isn't it?
Yeah, you've got to be able to rein it in when times like, it is a different landscape this year. And, people's spending habits are completely different now. So they leave buying tickets to the last minute. So for a lot of festivals, that's really, really challenging. And it's cost of living. People can barely afford to put the heating on, let alone,
Flash
can I
out.
in my life?
Yeah, yeah.
So that puts pressure on our industry as far as like, oh, are we going to pay? We're going to be able to pay that venue hire, that this, the marketing costs to the last minute. You have to
Yeah.
be willing to sort of lose that if that doesn't happen. But we're in a sort of different position with things this year, where we're working with promoters now. We've got a booking agent,
Yeah, I was going to say you guys are with Coalition, aren't you? You're with
yeah,
Coalition. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that must take so much of the pressure,
yeah, yeah,
you know.
it really does. Yeah. And
Yeah,
I think it's opened us up to there's so much you can do on your own, and we could have continued doing national tours and things like that, and maybe starting to move internationally as well. And I would have done that myself. I would have tried it, and but there's nothing that quite uh, is as special as like I really value when we have the right team because we've had the wrong team in the past
Mm.
people have ripped us off. I mean, the amount of stories where people have phoned us up and pretended to want to work with us, only to want to sort of ask me about the business model and steal it and copy it. You've seen it
Right.
everywhere.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
It literally sounds like what we do, and the concept is copied left, right, and centre now. But a lot of those are people, promoters who phoned us up and pretended to want to work with us, only to then just ghost you and do it anyway.
Trying. Yeah, yeah. Of course, of course.
Well, that's happened even from the start. We had a show who emailed us to say, "Can I buy the socials and things like that for One Night in Nashville?" And we're like, "No, we've been established for a few years." They tried to trademark our name, and and then they changed it to a something Night in Nashville's. But yeah, all sorts like that happened in the early days. We were blocked from being booked in theatres, but that just pushed us into music venues, where we felt more at home anyway. So
Yeah.
it's a dirty industry, I'll say
Oh, it
that.
is.
People have dirty, dirty tactics. So having experienced all of that when Coalition approached us, and this is the thing, they approached us because we were succeeding, and it's good for artists to know that you don't wait for those people to succeed for you or make it succeed for you. You have to build something
Build it
to a
yourself.
point where people are interested in, and going, wow, look at what you've done on your own. This is what we can now do. And for me, what they can now do is like get us on festivals, get us international, sort deals out with promoters. We've got shows with Live Nation, TEG, the Gig Cartel, loads of different
Mm.
promoters where we're not having to now upfront costs of
And
venue hire and
and
all
phone them directly and yeah, all that stuff. Yeah,
that.
exactly, exactly.
And a real strong protector of this horrible industry and the cruelties of it. They protect you, and that's an amazing thing.
Definitely.
They're on our side. They're a really good team. They know what they're doing, and they're really good at what they do. And I appreciate every bit of hard work that they put into it because
Yeah, that's it.
it is 24/7 for them, and like it is with us. So having the right team is the most important thing you can do in.
Completely. And you see that even with with signed artists, it's the team that is the thing that keeps it going or not and just destroys it. It's
Yeah,
so important to have that thing where, now you're looking at a situation, fingers crossed, hopefully all that stuff, that
yeah,
from this moment you're now
yeah,
making profit, you've got your show, it'll just carry on. And there you go. That's it. That's all you need to do. Just deliver it,
You would
so,
think that,
you
wouldn't you?
know,
But in your mind, if you think about all these years where I've not had that, I'm having to retrain my mindset now to, in your mind, you're like, oh, it might be good for a year. Oh, it might be good for another year. You don't think like that, do you? And
yeah,
you
no, I know.
because you
I
can't
know.
ever get comfortable in this industry,
No,
can you?
no, absolutely.
So you kind of brought to the present moment of going, this is an amazing experience. I'm soaking this up for every single amazing moment this is. We're playing
Yeah,
Dubai this week in the amphitheatre to like 8 to 10,000 people.
yeah.
Next week we play the Albert Hall in Manchester. This was on my bucket list. It was literally on my vision board a few years ago. So to see it come to reality and
Ah,
for the team around it to, it's not just me now. There's a team making that happen and
yeah.
amazing. It's really amazing.
And it's such a testament to the amount of work that you've all put into it. I know you personally have, but Dave being there beside you with his building business, and Sam
Yeah,
there, and just sticking by you all these years
yeah,
with all
yeah,
this stuff. And it's so cool to see that it's like, it's that real David and Goliath story that you've had where it's like you've really started off from something that's like, I've got this idea and I'm trying to grow it and I know nothing about doing it. And
yeah.
like how much you've learned and how much you've grown and now to see it, that the sort of the bird take flight, it's an amazing thing to see. And it really is a testament to your powers of, your resourcefulness and
Yeah.
your stability and everything about it. It's brilliant. It's brilliant to see.
You've really got to, though, haven't you? And I think what musicians probably don't realize is the skill set they're gaining from having to edit their own videos, having to create content, having to go in a studio and figure that all out, having to do contracts for musicians, for shows. All of that could land you a really good job, in marketing. I've worked in marketing for the past sort of 8 years now, and you're calling me at a point where I'm moving away from that full-time job
Yeah.
since COVID shut everything down that I've been too scared to sort of move away from. I'm now like at the point where today that was my last day. So you kind of
It's
you
a
our conversation is really momentous.
Yeah, it's poignant, isn't it? I know, I know. It's like I'm here at the beginning of the launch all
Yeah,
over
yeah.
again.
But
Yeah,
the biggest thing for me is Albert Hall in Manchester. I think we played the Ritz last year, and that was like something that I was like, I, I tangibly, I can feel this on a level of like we're now in big concert halls from those small music venues. It felt really tangible because I've been to gigs at the
at the
Ritz.
Ritz. Yeah,
I'm a Manchester girl. Like the Ritz is iconic to me.
almost is. Yeah, it's iconic regardless, isn't it? The Ritz.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And we played there, and I was like, I don't want to leave at the end of the night. And it's like that about the alcohol on another level. It's just phenomenal. Union Chapel in London, we're
Yeah.
playing there as well. There's some fantastic shows, and the last week we recorded the live show back in October at Marble Factory in Bristol. We recorded it, so we've been working in the studio. We have our own studio at home. Just polishing things up, getting rid of mic bleed and things like that. And so we've now got an album, which is the live show. It's got my singles on there as well, because just going back to how I place my music in there as well. I sing my own songs within the show as well as the covers, and
Mhm.
it blends and it fits,
Yeah,
with the
definitely. Yeah, yeah, of course, of course.
always our goal was to release music independently, and music from the show. And this is the way that I'm doing that now. So I don't feel like I've rejected the traditional business model of music, but I kind of have. I'm kind
Yeah,
of going this way. If that eventually leads to a traditional music industry model, then great. But for now, I'm just
yeah,
doing
for now. Take
some
whatever you can.
Wasn't it? Yeah, just people buy CDs at the show and they buy my music and they're singing my songs. There's 1,000 people in the audience and I'm seeing them singing the full song now. And with the way that TikTok is, you can reintroduce things that might be an old album, but it's actually new to these
Oh,
people.
this is the first time that they've heard it,
Yeah,
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 yeah, and there's so much to be said for just, you were always there, you've been there for 10, 20 years grafting with all of this stuff, but when people don't know about it,
yeah.
it's just it's all new to them, isn't it? So you doing these shows and finally striking these, these deals with Coalition and so on, and getting into these bigger venues, it's suddenly bringing that, oh, here's this new girl, Maria Jordan, and it's like
Overnight success.
overnight success.
Overnight. Where'd she come from? Why does she deserve that? Yeah, she
I
did. Yeah,
know, mate. I know.
grafted. She's grafted. We all have. We all have. And that's the thing, isn't it? We all do as musicians. We all graft and we're relentless. And eventually something will stick. And we always felt it was going to be this. It
Yeah,
feels so authentic to who we are, who I am as a songwriter. It just feels so authentic. And I think that's the thing, when I was doing DJ live or, covers, corporate events, all of that, this feels like home to me. And it always has. And I think spiritually, it's important to do things that feel like home because
definitely.
I feel that the audience gets that. They really feel that as well. It has to feel that way, doesn't it? Because it's
Of
such a difficult
course.
industry that it's got to be authentic to who you are, and this really is. It really is.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's. I'm aware of the time, Maria. So let's, as a final tip, as a final something to sign off on. Like if I'm a younger Maria Jordan and I'm saying, how the hell do I do whatever you do? What
Yeah.
what would be your advice to your younger self or to anyone else out there watching this? How to get into the industry and to do the things that you're doing? What would you say to them?
I think you've really just got to have that thirst for knowledge and you've got to have the drive and the hunger to succeed no matter what, no matter how tough it gets, no matter how many knockbacks you're going to get and fail because failure is where your lessons are, the biggest lessons. Learn whatever you can, learn to market, learn branding, learn your instrument inside out and learn, network. That's been my biggest sort of weakness, I would say, networking. I'm not good at talking to people. I know you probably would believe that, but I'm really shy in a sort of networking session, that sort of thing. But yeah, I would just say just be relentless with it, never give up. Something will shift eventually. Like, look at me, I'm in my early 40s. I started at 15. That's how long these things can take. And, at 27, that manager told me this was my last shot.
Right, right.
Heaven. It's not, it's clearly not, is it? Just don't take no for an answer. Doesn't matter who you are, where you come from. I'm from a very humble working class background. My dad was a single parent. It really doesn't matter who you are. If I can do that, you can. And I did it from the relentless pursuit of knowledge and wanting to succeed at this and not taking no for an answer and never giving up, I would say.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much for your time, Maria. I really, really appreciate you doing this. And it is so good to see you again after
All
it,
right,
as you
guys.
said, it must have been, I
Was
don't
it
know, it must be about
Night
10
and Day,
years,
wasn't it? Night and Day Cafe, was it?
night and day. I think
Yeah,
it was. Yeah, it was. It was the night and day. Yeah, yeah.
it's mad, isn't it? Oh,
Wow. Yeah, yeah. All right,
brilliant.
mate. Well, good luck with the rest of it, with the rest of the tour and every say hello to Sam and say hello to Dave for me.
I will definitely. We always laugh about when we went up to do that gig in Scotland and when we had on that journey.
Ah, it was so good, mate.
I was on
Good times, man. If you ever need me again, you know where I am.
I will definitely. So lovely to catch up,
Quite
Ben.
right, mate. Yeah, yeah, you too. All
Later.
right, Maria, take care, mate. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.